Good morning. Happy Monday. Today is Monday, March 23rd. I am so excited and happy to be here. I missed you guys over the weekend, like not knowing that we were connecting, at least via video. So I'm excited for today. I'm also especially excited because there's a couple people who did not have their Scholar Bundle until yesterday. So for those of you who are new, this video series is going to continue through this Friday, this upcoming Friday before spring break. So essentially the Scholar Bundle that you were given in your Math Stories binder has everything that you need. And you'll be expected to do the work. We do morning work front and back every day, 3 pages of math in the math workbook. ELA, we either do 3 pages if it's writing and grammar related, or we'll do, if there's a passage, we'll read the passage, do jots, main idea, and answer however many questions there are for that passage. And then we do 1 math story a day. So essentially, the work might take you an hour to complete. The video should be no longer than half an hour, and then I would love for each of you to be reading for at least 30 minutes a day. So essentially, in a school day, right, we would have 8 hours together learning. My expectations for this week is about 2 hours of work, and then also some math facts, please, in there as well. So if you are a new Scholar Bundle person, you were given morning work that looks like this, either in a packet or all clipped together. I want to make sure that you guys are staying with us. So you're going to do the work that we're doing, and then if you have time over spring break, then you can do the work for the week that you missed, okay? So this goes for everyone. Moving forward this week, the dates are going to be off at the top. So just keep going through your packet as normal by doing 1 page front and back at a time, okay? This also reminds me that the back of your, actually I have a few announcements, so let's go through them all. The back of your morning work for this week says practice your spelling words. Obviously, as we talked about in the first video from day 1, nothing that we do over these 2 weeks are going to be put into gradebook. You're not going to get consequences for not doing it necessarily, but it is in your best interest to keep up with work so that you are ready for 4th grade and that you can show us that you're ready for 4th grade. With that being said, I thought it would be great to continue with our routine of doing spelling words. So I will be emailing your parents the spelling words for this week. Please practice those. We'll do like a little fake quiz on Friday just to see how you did, and that will be kind of fun. So not only am I emailing the spelling words to your parents, but I'm also putting them on our Google Classroom. I honestly don't know in what capacity we will be using Google Classroom in the future. I don't know exactly what that will look like. However, I did set it up. I'm going to send your parents in that email instructions of how to join my class. The first couple things that we have in the Google Classroom are 2 things that I posted. One of the things is spelling words. And if you click on this assignment, and go up to the top and click instructions, you'll see the instructions as well as the spelling list for the week. So if you need a reference, I'll also be emailing it to your parents, but this could also help you. The other thing that's currently in our Google Classroom when you join is a new assignment called Spirit Week Photos. If you click on them, you guys, obviously there's none in here right now. The instructions are here, and you can use the attachment button, I believe, to add photos to here. If you can't, then we'll figure out another way to do that. But I believe you should be able to, on your end, you can attach a photo of your Spirit Week. with that being said, we're already 5 minutes in, so I'm going to make sure that we're moving quickly. With that being said, this week is a Spirit Week, which is really fun because what that means is although we're not physically together, we can kind of create classroom community by dressing up in the same theme and showing each other what we are wearing, which is awesome. The Spirit Week, let me tell you, and I'll attach this to the email as well, or you should have gotten one from Miss Adrian, I believe. So today, the 23rd, is Superhero Day, and the description says, in honor of the hospital workers, first responders, grocery store employees, and all other essential personnel. Tuesday is Crazy Hair and Hat Day. Wednesday is School Colors and Spirit Day, so represent East Arbor and how much we're missing it. Wear a lot of green and yellow or green and gold. Thursday is going to be Sports Day, so wear a jersey or other sports to represent all the teams that are unable to play right now. So as you know, the NBA is suspended, all sports are suspended, March Madness is canceled, so let's come together as a team and wear some jerseys. And Friday is Pajama Day, and as it says, because why not? Pajamas, pajama days are the silver lining right now, right? Every day seems like a pajama day these days. This is my superhero cape. I don't officially have a real superhero cape at home, but this is the closest thing that I had, and I also think that it's really symbolic because it is Michigan medicine. So all of the doctors at U of M Hospital are working extremely hard right now, as well as any hospital in the country, to keep patients safe, to keep us safe, and to stop this virus as quickly as we can. So if you're new to these videos, they typically won't be this long and they typically won't have a long introduction. We'll just dive right in. But today, obviously, because you are new, there was a little bit of explaining to do. So the way that we start always is with Be the Sun, Not the Salt. And if you are new and you missed last week, you can always go back to the old videos on my channel and watch Be the Sun, Not the Salt, as well as catch up on Tales of Despero because we've been reading every day. Lesson 20. This one is a hard one for me sometimes. Take the high road. We are faced with a million choices in our lives when it comes to interactions with other people, especially when people irritate us. Whether we are heliotropic or not often depends on which road we take. It's your choice. You can be petty or you can be gracious and forgiving. I was reading a newspaper column on ethics. A man wrote in and asked how he should write a letter he wanted to write. The story is that the man and his brother had been estranged, meaning that they really had no relationship, for years. His brother's death announcement mentioned all the survivors, including a deceased dog, but there was no mention of him. Yet, he still wanted to write a letter of condolence to his sister-in-law. Since being heliotropic means uplifting and helpful to others, the answer is very simple. I'm so sorry for your loss. I wanted to express my deepest condolences. Even though we haven't spoken for 20 years, I want you to know I am saddened by my brother's death and can only imagine your pain. Avoid the angry, hurt, insulted version of anything. Taking the high road is always best for you and those around you. Test it out in the laboratory of your own experience. So even though clearly something happened with he and his brother, and he could have easily just not said anything to his brother's wife, he clearly took the high road and wanted to make her know that he was also saddened by that news. So that's pretty special and pretty deep. Let's dive into morning work. So if you are new to the series and the channel, what most of us have been doing is before we even press play on the video, we actually stack all of our work that we completed together. That way, as we go through it, you can just kind of roll with me and stay on pace. So this is morning work. We're working with groups of and repeated addition. The answers are A, C, D, A, D, C. Now, number 10 was a little bit, not a trick question, but a close reading question. The answer is C. When I was first reading all of the ones before it, all we really had to do was count the number of groups to get the correct answer. 7 groups of 6, however, I was looking for 7 groups, which is represented in A. However, it's 7 groups of 7 in A. We're looking for 7 groups of 6. So which one of these is going to also be equivalent to 7 groups of 6? So C is 6 groups of 7, right? A is 7 groups of 7. So C is actually equivalent to 7 groups of 6. If you got this correct the first time, I want you to draw a little super beast on the side because that means that you're a close reader and you're double checking your work. Awesome job. Spelling words I'm not going to go over. You guys can practice that on your own. Next is the math book, pages 16, 17, and 18. Here on the front, we have our model. We're working with a numerator, the number of pieces being used or shaded, and the total number of pieces at the bottom. Your answers are how many pieces does the shaded pieces represent? That is 5/6 D. And which fraction does the unshaded piece represent? The answer is 1/6. 1 piece out of 6 total pieces. 1/6, your answer is A. Number 23 on the back side says there are 63 students on a trip to a local camp. The students are divided into 7 equal groups. Which equation can be used to represent the story in this problem? So essentially I'm noticing again, as we've been talking about last week, there is a total being evenly distributed amongst 7 groups. So I know that I'm thinking about which operation applies to that. The operation is division, so your answer is D. This next one could have been tricky depending on how you approached it. Essentially, what they were asking you to do was look at each graph, kind of try and estimate what each of the values were, and then find the difference between them. So essentially, you should have been able to tell that the first one was about 500, the second was about 650. 650 minus 500 is 150. Your answer is C. And last page. Love this question. I believe that we either did this year, or I think I printed this question for my 2nd grade class last year when we were prepping for NWEA. I can't remember which. Essentially what you were supposed to do is recognize the pattern that it's in and out, in, out, psh, in, out, psh, in, out, psh, and find the rule. The rule is +3. 5 plus 3 is 8. 10 plus 3 is 13. 15 plus 3 is 18. Then you need to find 20 plus 3. Your answer is C, 23. All right. Take a stretch, roll your neck out, take a deep breath, and let's dive into ELA. So grab your ELA book and open to page 18. I had so much fun doing this ELA. I love finding kind of mistakes in writing and finding word choices to make things more accurate or more fun to read. And I really think that it's just a fun way to become a better writer without actually writing, right? Because you're reading other people's work and revising it. Here are the answers. Number 20 is B. It's the best place. I also magic maybe the coolest place because both made sense. However, the most convincing way that you could convince someone to go to that specific place is to imply that it's literally the best, better in every capacity, not just cooler, not just better for learning. It's everything you can imagine. It's the best place we could possibly go. Number 21 is trying to get you to use word choice that makes the reader feel the character's sense of urgency, right? He is in like a bit of a time crunch, and what words can we use to communicate that? So your answer should have been A and D for number 21. These are so fun because you can read them out loud and they sound so funny when you read them incorrectly. Number 22, you were looking for 2 incorrect answers, so your answers are B and D. Number 23, if you got this wrong, don't worry, because when you're writing an address on an envelope, like using different lines, you would only have to do the comma after the city. However, if you're writing it all in one line, you need a comma after street and the city. So don't stress out too much about that one. And number 24, the misspelled word is misplaced. We had that as a spelling word. Misplaced actually only has one S. Misplaced. And that's it. Oh no, just kidding. That's it. Number 23, the answer is B. That makes the most sense in the context. And number 26 is A and E. Now, 26, you just had to be a close reader and a strong test taker, because this one is similar to the one that you did on the other page, but this time it's asking which examples do not have any errors. So you had to think about which two are correct. So basically they're just kind of trying to trick you and see who's reading closely and staying on track. So for Tuesday, if you're new, again, we're not working with a passage, so you'll be doing 3 pages, 21, 22, and 23 for Tuesday. Yeah? And lastly, math stories. Finally, we had something a little bit different other than just multiplication or division. So the question asks, Kelly baked a round cake for her best friend's birthday. She cut the cake evenly, meaning that everyone was given the same exact size piece. She and 5 friends shared it equally. Again, equal, equal, equal. How much of the cake did each person get? So you're solving for, you should have jotted at the bottom. How much of the cake did each person get? Each person. So I know that I'm thinking essentially about every single person. What did one person get? I'm going to be honest, and I don't want to tell you this, but when I was first reading this question, I did not read carefully, and I saw the word 5, and so I just broke the cake up into 5 equal pieces. But when I went back and checked my work, like a strong mathematician always does, it says she and 5 friends shared it equally. So what I should have recognized the first time is that this means that she and 5 friends are splitting it, which means that there's 6 people total. So as I made a note here, I know that the problem says that the cake is round. However, for me, when I'm breaking up fractions in a model, I always like to use a rectangular shape. For me personally, I think that it's much cleaner, and it's easy. It's more clear to see. So I know that I have one whole cake being cut up into 6 equal pieces, meaning that each person would get 1/6 of the cake. Now, this is not something that we really talked about in class, but when you're talking about an equation for a fraction, it is division. The fraction bar means division. And I know that when we were learning about division in the beginning of the year, we talked about how you can't have a smaller number being divided by a larger number, and that is still true when you're looking for whole number answers. However, when your answer is less than 1 or a fraction, you can have that. So essentially, this is the equation that matches the story. 1 divided by 6 equals 1/6, because you have one whole cake being cut up into 6 equal pieces. So what's left, or what that looks like equally distributed, is 1/6, or 1 divided by 6, 1 divided by 6, 1/6, 1/6 of cake. Oh my gosh, we got to 20 minutes even with a long introduction. Boom. So if you're new, at the end, essentially what I say is, if you are done here, then you can be done here and close the video, or if you want to stick around for Tales of Despero, you may. Now, if you're just joining us, I would recommend going back to video 1 and catching up with Tales of Despero, because we're learning all about Roscoe in book 2. Remember, we're learning about the rat now, who was obsessed with light, and we're at a pretty epic part, so I don't know if you want to jump in right now. But for those of you who are caught up and you've been listening, go ahead and get comfy. We just finished at the part where Roscoe's at the party. Remember, he's hanging from the chandelier. Princess P sees him on the chandelier, and she kind of like calls him out in front of everyone, and he gets scared, falls from the chandelier, and into the queen's bowl of soup. And then we don't know what happens next. So let's see. Chapter 21, The Queen's Last Words. The queen loved soup. She loved soup more than anything in the world except for the Princess P and the king. And because the queen loved it, soup was served in the castle for every banquet, every lunch, and every dinner. And what soup it was! Cooks loved admiration for the queen, and her palate moved the broth as she concocted from the level of mere food to high art. On this particular day, for this particular banquet, Cook had outdone herself. The soup was a masterpiece, a delicate mingling of chicken, watercress, and garlic. Roscoe, as he surfaced from the bottom of the queen's soup bowl, could not help taking a few appreciative sips for himself. "Lovely," he said, distracted for a moment in the mystery of his existence. "Delightful." "See?" shouted Princess P. "See?" She stood. She pointed her finger right at Roscoe. "It's a rat! I told you he was a rat. He was hanging from the chandelier, and now he's in Mama's soup." The musicians stopped playing their guitars. The jugglers stopped juggling. The noble people stopped eating. The queen looked at Roscoe. Roscoe looked at the queen. Reader, in the spirit of honesty, I must utter a difficult and unsavory truth. Rats are not beautiful creatures. They are not even cute. They are really rather nasty beasts, particularly if one happens to appear in your bowl of soup with pieces of watercress clinging to his whiskers. There was a long moment of silence, and then Roscoe said to the queen, "I beg your pardon?" In response, the queen flung her spoon in the air and made an incredible noise, a noise that was in no way worthy of a queen, a noise somewhere between the neigh of a horse and the squeal of a pig, a noise that sounded something like "Neigh!" And then she said, "There is a rat in my soup." The queen was really a simple soul, and always her whole life had done nothing except state the overly obvious. She died as she lived. "There's a rat in my soup," were the last words she uttered. She clenched her chest, fell backwards, her royal chair, and hit the floor with a thump. And the banquet hall exploded. Spoons were dropped, chairs were flung back. "Save her!" thundered the king. "You must save her!" All the king's men ran to try and rescue the queen. Roscoe climbed out of the bowl of soup. He felt that under the circumstances, it would be best if he left. Probably. As he crawled across the tablecloth, he remembered the words of the prisoner in the dungeon, his regret that he did not look back at his daughter as he left her. And so Roscoe turned. He looked back, and he saw the princess was glaring at him. Her eyes were filled with disgust and anger. So I'm noticing here how different Princess P's reaction to seeing a rat was to seeing a mouse. Remember when she saw Despero, she was like, "Oh, I want to keep him. Can't he stay and hang out with us?" And at the rat, she just was disgusted from the start. And now that he's potentially hurt her mother, she is not happy. "Go back to the dungeon," was the look she gave him. "Go back to the darkness where you belong." This look, reader, broke Roscoe's heart. Did you think that rats have hearts? Do you think that rats do not have hearts? You're wrong. All living things have a heart, and the heart of any living thing can be broken. If the rat had not looked over his shoulder, perhaps his heart would not have been broken. And it is possible then that I would not have a story to tell. But reader, he did. Look. All right, we're at 25 minutes. I hope that I didn't lose you in that boring introduction, but I just had to give a little overview for those people who have not been with us. Get your Tuesday work done, because tomorrow is crazy hair day, crazy hat day, and you're not going to want to miss what I have to wear. Have a wonderful day. I miss you guys incredibly. And if you are continuing to do your work, I'm so proud of you. Like, you are top notch.